We had our little mini pullback, which we were looking for from 273. Tested kind of the breakout area from the prior week, and both days closed strong. Actually, I think that's 3 weeks in a row. To the close, we've been bought every day, even on this down day. You can see right there. We are gapping up to where the down move started from on Thursday, from the gap down. So we do have this little gap fill area right here, which is the soft gap fill would be kind of into 272-ish, a little bit above there. So it'll be interesting to see if we catch a bid and we do that on the open. And now we have, as our first support, potential support 271. So we're going to open right above there. Just a reminder, this wasn't any crazy prediction from Friday. This is the normal thing that happens. You have weakness one day, you go up the end of the day. The next morning, you do a retest of the low. You usually go through it, and then once you get back above the prior day's low, you look to see if you balance. That doesn't happen every time, but it's just the most common pattern. Sometimes you hear me refer to it as a faux inside day. When you've had like a down day, the next day you take out the low and then you move back in. That's common in an uptrend. Once the market starts, breaking down into a downtrend, then you can start to have big couple of 2-3 big down days in a row, stuff like that. But right now we are in an uptrend in the market, and so making a bet after one day of weakness and then a little more weakness the following morning that we catch a bid is the high probability play until the market changes. So we kind of have a range now, hopefully, to work with. If we do get some selling today, we'd look for for a higher low, maybe into the 270 area. Let's call it 270 to 270.50, this little area right here. And we will look for some resistance into here. The most common range we've been seeing recently on the days that the market's not really doing a lot is about $2, which is about 0.75%. That's just the most common thing that we've been seeing. So IWM was actually showing, as hard as this down move was here in the late morning when SPYs came off, did show relative strength, right? Because technically it did make a lower low the day before. But did come into our 148.60. I think this was the level we were looking at. Did touch it and went up a buck and change from there, gapping into potential resistance this morning. $150.30 to $150.50. Is that so? Very light news day. I put CAR on here because Goldman upgraded from a sell to a buy, which is unusual. They probably have some investment banking relationships with them. So let's take a look here. So it did rally up from 22 to 27, got hammered. This is a couple of weeks ago. I think we maybe even talked about it this day. It gapped up here. Came off really hard. Right back up, failed again at 27. So this is, what do we have on the sheet? I have 27, 35, 28. So let's see here. So I guess 27.35 was the high from a couple weeks ago. Zoom out a little bit. Zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so this came off from the 33 area. It's trending lower. It's trying to break this downtrend. I think from a sell to a buy, you could attract some people. We do know that there's some accumulation for about a week or so. It's interesting that it was sold Thursday and Friday. I'm not sure what was going on there. Maybe it was just the market weakness. So I'd want to see it hold this basically. What do I have for support on the sheet? 26.85 is for support. If it comes into this and is bought right here and then retakes 27, then making a play to see if it goes to 28 is pretty reasonable. If the first move is up, and it actually consolidates above the opening price and then breaks above 28, then perhaps it's in store for a bigger move. You can see that it occasionally does do the pretty big moves. In 2 days, it came off from 27 to 24, so that was $3. So it's possible it could work its way back up to 30. People are really going to buy on this. NUVA. So they're in talks to be acquired. It's a thinner stock. Normally does about 500,000 shares. Could do 2 to 3 million shares if people want to position themselves for a takeover. Let's just see longer term what we're looking at here. So if we look at it the last couple of years, it had the big run up to 80, and it's been pretty wild since then. Guess this gap down on some bad news to 69. This morning was, I guess, up here. Right now it's 56. So above this. So it was up above 62.5. Let's zoom in and see if it's some volume. It's on 65,000 shares. I guess the story was actually announced in the after hours, I guess, on Friday, so it did do some real volume. Actually did some really significant volume up here. It's like more than its average daily volume right here in the after hours on that announcement. Actually, let's see, what is that now? 25, 50, 100, it's a couple 100,000 shares. So what do I have on the sheet? 55. I have this as the first support, but I think between 56 and 55 is where I'd be looking to see if people try to buy it. Right now, sellers in control at 59, 60. It's $1.50 ATR. So again, this is going to be thin. It could do 2 to 3 million shares. If it does catch a bid, like in here, this is the most obvious play to me would be to try to get it long here and see if it pops back up to here. I don't know about it going back up to here. But this is a lot of people did get in on the news, so they seem like they think it's legit. The acquiring company I put in the notes is SNN. Obviously getting a hit on there. I was hoping this is actually just as thin a stock. Well, it's a little bit thicker. It does about 650,000 shares a day. It seems like there would be, it actually had just gone up coming into this news. So I would think people would be buying this. This might be an easier play, like buying this into 37.70, like 37.30 to 37.70, this area right here would be an interesting spot to be long it against 37. That could be a pretty good play. So that's that. So the tech and days and the technicals. So we had Mattel. Mattel had some strange price action on Friday. So first move was up. It kind of broke above our after hours resistance, the 15. Went up $1 straight. So anybody who played it above 15 made money there. It was very clean. It happened like in the first few minutes. Actually started from right where it was in the pre-market. When it came back down, I imagine people probably were buying it here in front of 15, which makes sense to me. This is a strong move. Then it overshot to the downside, which I thought made it tough. Now it did come right back down to the opening price, and it held there. It actually punched it up right when it was, I think, right around here. Didn't continue to follow it. So I suppose people did buy it at the opening price, and then it looked pretty good. Then it tried to roll over again. Somebody was selling it at 15.20. Let's see where it is this morning. I guess the bird's on the sellers. It is. Let's go to the 30-minute. So it had that initial move off the lows. I mean, the longer it stays above basically 1450, the better shot it has of continuing up into this area here. So I would continue to monitor it pretty closely. You can see on the chart that 1470, where it bounced off of on the open and pulled back into the afternoon, that's this area right here. So people were using this resistance as support. So this continues to be an area where you'd look to see if people buy it. And the longer it stays here, eventually if you get a close above 1530, then you're looking for it to kind of test this high right here. I didn't see if it got any upgrades or downgrades today. The next one's Expedia. I made one trade on that on the flush on the open. It bounced. I didn't flip it to short into 135. It's actually, you can't even see it on the 30-minute really. It actually closed weak, just looking at the 30-minute. So right on the open, they flushed it and had a decent bounce, but couldn't get back above this, what we had as potential pre-market support. And this is kind of how to judge the strength. If it got back into this area here, then you could look for it to come here. But it failed there, came in, consolidated, tried to bounce, and then it was just sold the rest of the day, very methodically. After failing at 34, broke from the downside from 32. There's a seller all afternoon at 31.75, so now this becomes resistance, 31.70 to 32. And so with this kind of downtrend in place, I would say that it fails here at 32 on the open and gets below 30. I'd look for continued downside there. And obviously, the institutions have had the weekend to digest, so you'll know right away if they're buying. What you'd see on the open is something like this, and then it just doesn't pull back that much. It does one of those. What's that? Yeah. But just, yep. So you'll be able to tell on the open whether or not people are buying it on the institutions from the first move. But if it gets below 130, that's not good. Twitter. So Twitter above 30 again. So I put in the low in the morning, I guess with the market, at 29.5, flushed through, bought a bid, got back up to 30 pretty quickly. Never really held above 30 though. So we'll see. This morning, basically, this band holds right here. Yeah, I mean, everyone's jumping on the EA bandwagon now that it's back up to like 100. I think it's a tough, and it might be okay if it settles in after the open. So this is on Twitter right here. Like it holds here on the open, and then you see it get back above, let's say 30.20, then I'd be playing it up to here. And then I'm still long it. I sold the puts on Friday. My average cost is probably down closer to 30 now. And that's that. MGNX, this one is probably going to move back up into the mid-20s at some point this week or higher. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on that. Day one, topped out. Will they do a secondary? It's tough. I forgot to look at it on Friday, but I thought anywhere below 22 was where you wanted to start buying it. On the open, it went down to 21.50. It tested that again in the middle of the day. You can see the buyers stepped up to 22.60 in the afternoon, but there was a little selling at the close. I would love to get a flush again. I would love to get it to closer to 20, but anywhere below 22, I thought starting to buy it. So I do think it'll get back into this area here over the next few days, depending on how if they price a secondary and where they price it. So we want to keep an eye on that. Yes, Hasbro. So after the hard selling on the open, they just accumulated it all afternoon. I guess people were watching it. It did drop out once here, it looks like. That's a lot of accumulation for 3 hours. Once it got above this little, what is this, 87.25, it had a really nice up move. So that looks good to me. You want it to stay above 89 this morning. But that's really good accumulation. So there's a good chance it's going to test 92 today or tomorrow. Obviously, if you're not in from 86, 87, you have to be a little bit more careful. And then on EA, I think what's driving this mainly is that it came off from 150. So the fact that it got those positive data points, people feel like there's still some more upside here. It wouldn't surprise me if it went straight up on the open and then had like a $5 down move. Let's see. Right. So people are thinking, I guess it has upside into, I guess the down move started from 120, went from 120 to 75. It is now retraced $27, which is probably about 2/3 of this down move from here to here. If you just take the big move on Friday, the way you look at it is it had the opening drive. It pulled back a little bit to this little high on the open. It held, and then once it got above 92, it was pretty clean. Did pull back to the morning high. That's where people started to buy it. It really was along the rest of the day. I mean, it did have some decent pullbacks. It pulled back from 96 to 94. But you can just see each of these pullbacks was about $2, and then people stepped in and bought. So if it's going to be strong again today, it probably shouldn't have more than a $2 pullback. So let's say this is the high right here, and they sell it right on the open. They're probably looking for it to catch a bid into 100, or just a little bit below 100. Any type of like hard down move on the open and then it comes back and fails there would be short. And then Skechers. Right. So I think I talked about this on the review on over the weekend, but basically the play was the support here from the after hours. It held here on the open. Would they get long here and would it start to curl up? It actually started to hold. It wasn't clean, but it got below 32 and then would pop up, couldn't hold above. Eventually, I think got stopped back on this little red bar right here. But 32 became like a short price. Zoom out. Right, so it came off from here, 40. The high was 33.30. So, I mean, if it starts to basically, the different price action today for it actually going up would mean it goes up quickly above 32 on the open, and then it has a very tight consolidation, like a 20-cent range for 15 minutes or so, and then starts to move up again. That would mean that they're ready to start to work its way into this gap. The issue with buying it, the reason why it was okay to buy it after such a big move on here was it just completely fell apart from 38, and there was just basically a lot of air here. And so if it gets above this 33, there's just so much air you can easily capture a $2-3 move. Like $3 would be 2 ATR, but there's just nothing in terms of resistance there.